I can remember as time went on and I progressed and, you get bigger size pants and bigger size pants. And after about the seventh bigger size pants, you're like, all right, well, what's going to happen now? I was so consumed with life and what was going on. I really didn't care. And I kind of became a hermit, if you will. Not necessarily, but like my weight kept me from going places. I refused to let people take pictures of me. It just, it
You
started
were embarrassed.
affecting my life. Yeah, for sure. And affecting my family and who I was around and all this kind of stuff. And you just start putting walls up and staying off to yourself.
Hey, everybody, welcome to View from the Top podcast. So glad you're listening in today. My name is Kevin, also known as Wally Wallenbeck, and we've got Aaron Big A Walker with us. How you doing today, Big A?
Hey, Wally, you doing well?
Yeah, man, I'm doing well. I got over the cold stuff. That's in
You're
the
done.
books. Yeah, a
It took you long enough to get over that. Like it was
I
like,
know,
oh my
man.
gosh, like
That
weeks and
fatigue stuff
weeks. I
I've
know,
talked to so many people, man. That fatigue will get you, but
I know,
here
I
we
know,
are, man. And
I know.
yeah, I'm excited about what we got going on today. We've got a really cool guest, and we'll introduce him in a minute here. But
I was
um,
thinking a little bit about some of the transitional things that we're going to talk about in a few minutes,
mhm,
but talking about really hard things. And, when we were preparing for this show, I was thinking about my own life. I was like, "Man, what have I dealt with that even remotely comes close to what our guest shared today?" And I don't know that I quite got there, but I did think about something that was a real struggle for me over the years. And, I got right out of high school and went to work. And Wally, I can't even begin to tell you how embarrassed I was that I didn't have like a college degree.
mm,
And I got involved in my mastermind. And some of my buddies told me years later, they said, "What are you talking about? You could teach some of these classes at college. You ought to be an adjunct professor." And I'm like, well, first of all, I can't spell that. But second of all, it's like, I don't have that document, and my
yeah,
buddies were like, "Man, you got to get over that." And Wally, it took me years to work through that, to
mm,
really believe that you don't have to have a document hanging on the wall to prove that you're successful or you have the wisdom or the skills to do things. And our
yeah,
guest is going to talk about some of his hurdles. But what about you? Have you ever
yeah.
had to
It's
work through
interesting.
anything
It's
like
interesting
that?
you say that. Like for me, I mean, I went to college for a couple of years, and then actually went for law enforcement, and I wanted to be a federal officer is what I wanted to be. And as I got into it, I realized pretty quickly that that lifestyle and what was going to be required of me away from my family and stuff just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I got married young.
I've never known you. That's the first I've ever heard that. I didn't know. Like I'm learning something right now about you on this show. It's like I had no idea you were going to
Yeah,
be in law
yeah,
enforcement.
I was all
You
about that,
always
man.
doling out these little things that I'm just
Yeah,
learning about you.
I went to a 4-year school. That's what I was going to do, and almost joined up with the ROTC program and all that stuff too. So, but anyway, um, so dropping out of school and then still trying to take kind of that corporate world uh, job path did not
Right.
work out for me at all because I didn't have a degree. And I think there's value in having a degree depending on your path
Sure.
and the life you want to live and what you want to pursue. There's absolutely value in that. But it doesn't mean that if you don't and choose a different path that there's not, success that you can find and whatnot. And for me, that was the case too. Like I got into business pretty quick and tried a bunch of different things, and a lot of things didn't work, and finally something worked. It worked pretty well, and
Right.
and yeah, but even the college degree thing that also, man, I looked like a baby forever. Like just my face, I just look like a child. I mean, I'd go into these
Well, you're
RV
only
dealerships.
23. I mean, the
I'm
audience needs
15
to.
almost now, so I'd walk
Oh,
into these
okay. I
dealerships.
thought you were 23. I was
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm learning something new about that also.
I'd walk to these RV dealerships and talk to some owner in there, tried to sell our products and services, and I just felt like a baby, man. So really quickly, I grew a goatee. That helped a little, but nothing like the challenges, man, for sure. That our guest today, Casey Elkins, man, it's pretty insane.
What a story.
I know.
It
There's
is
some,
crazy.
I, I could sit here and list off some knowledge bombs, but I think it's just best that we get in and get a pen handy. That's what I'm going to say. Like, get a pan. There's lots of little knowledge bombs, one-liners that Casey has that has really helped him, and helps his clients today to find success, not just in health. Obviously, that's what we're going to talk a lot about today, but um,
Man,
just
he
in
had us
life.
going. There was a point in this interview that the three of us were crying.
I
You
know.
got to listen to the whole interview to get to it, but it's like, oh my
Tissues required.
gosh.
Tissues
Yeah.
required.
Tissues required. Get a pad, get a pen. Let's get into it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get Casey.
Hey, Casey, man, I am so excited that you're our guest today. Thank you for coming to View from the Top, man. How's it going?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I was thinking about your story months ago, honestly, when I first heard your story, and I was telling Kevin about it. Wally, this story is going to be mind blowing for you as well as the rest of the audience as we go through this. But it's what I kind of termed as the Great Awakening. I mean, you've had a radical transformation in your life, and we could go tell a lot of stories, but I want to just dive into your story if that's okay with you. And I want to ask you a few questions, and then you can kind of unpack your life and your story along with it. But man, there was a time in your life that you weren't in real good shape. I mean, like physically, you were in a pretty bad spot. So take us back there a little bit and let us know what transpired as a result of one day in this Great Awakening.
For sure. So, about 10 years ago, I was working on my second master's degree and my doctorate degree, and, had some pretty high functioning anxiety, stressed all the time, over perfectionist, over producer, couldn't say no to anybody, and had just terrible coping mechanisms like a lot of people. And, a terrible diet and a terrible lifestyle were what I kind of ran to. That was kind of my comfort zone. I very quickly gained about 100 pounds over a short time period. And just, it was just a never ending cycle. You just gain and stress and gain and eat. And so,
Casey, I want to stop you as we go along. What were you thinking like when you knew you were gaining weight, obviously, right? I mean, that
oh
was no
yeah.
secret. I mean, did you not care? Did it not matter? You had other things to think about? Like when this was happening, what did you think?
I can remember as time went on and I progressed, and you get bigger size pants and bigger size pants, and after about the seventh bigger size pants, you're like, all right, well, what's going to happen now? And I was so consumed with life and what was going on, I really didn't care, and I kind of became a hermit, if you will, not necessarily, but like my weight kept me from going places. I refused to let people take pictures of me. It just, it
You
started
were embarrassed.
affecting my life. Yeah, for sure. And affecting my family and who I was around and all this kind of stuff. And, you just start putting walls up and not, staying off to yourself. And,
Anybody
um,
questioning you during this? Any of your friends or family members coming privately and saying, "Hey, Casey, like, what's going on? Something we can help with?" Anybody in your
n-
life at that time?
no, no one really said anything to me. It was just kind of my own, you know, what I did, where I was. Um, and a couple, about 10 years ago, um, one night I fell asleep in my recliner, and I woke up and I was paralyzed from my neck down. I could talk and move my head, and I could move my fingers and toes, and that was it. Like everything else, nothing could move. And at first I was like, this is weird. Like my whole body's asleep. Like I've never felt this before. I mean, you think like your arm goes to sleep when you lay on it the wrong way. Well, this is your whole body. And I could still feel everything. I just couldn't move anything.
And
Um,
you're how old at this time?
I was 27.
Yeah, so you wasn't even thinking about a stroke or a heart attack or anything like
No.
that. That didn't even dawn on
Are
you
you
this time.
married at this time? You've married your kids or anything? Or
Yeah. So I've been married for about 7 years, and I
yeah.
had two small kids. So my son was 7, my daughter was about 4.
Even
Um,
Brittany wasn't saying anything to you on this journey of you gaining weight. She wasn't like, "Come on, babe, like this," like
nope.
nothing. Man, Robin would be kicking my tail. She'd be like, "Hey, you're gonna not eat that apple pie tonight." But so the kids,
No.
Aiden wasn't saying anything. No,
No, I mean,
all right,
people had comments. Everybody would say stuff
yeah,
about,
yeah,
you're getting bigger, but
okay,
nobody would
okay,
be like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? You
I
need to
got you.
stop, kind of
Do
thing.
you wish somebody had?
You know, I think I was at a place where I was so stressed out that if somebody would have said something, it would have been a very big point of contention
Mm.
Okay,
instead of me taking it receptively to change.
okay,
Um, you know, once I woke up and was paralyzed, I was kind of like, oh man. Well, my immediate first thought was, this has got to hurry up and go away because I got to be at work in the morning. Like, I have patients to see, so I got to get up in like 4 hours and be in the office so I can get my day started. Uh, and so as I sat there, I was kind of like, man. So I called out to Brittany. I was like, hey, can you come help me? Can you come help me? And she was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you making this up? Like, get up and come to bed. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, no, really, I can't move. And I was a tad bit stubborn. And she tried to get me to go to the emergency room. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I got to go to work in the morning. I'm not going to the emergency room. I don't have time for that. Um, and as the day progressed, like 12, 18 hours later, uh, I stopped being able to move my hands and feet. And then I kind of lost it because to me, I have to be a productive member of society. I have to be able to
awesome.
support my family, all of this stuff. And whenever I was like, oh, I can't move anything now, then I kind of lost it a little. I got real nervous and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. Take me now. Like, get me there yesterday.
Right, right.
Um, so we got to the emergency room and they found out that my potassium was extremely low, like not compatible with life low, like I should be dead low. Um, and, you know, nothing else that I can explain, but the hand of God was on me and just kind of kept me alive for the, little bit of time. They did some emergency stuff, got my potassium up and,
They admit you? Did you have to be admitted to the hospital?
yeah, so, well, I didn't wanna be in the hospital, period, but I had to
Hey, so you're
stay.
not a little bit stubborn. You're like off the chart stubborn. Like you didn't want to go when you should. Now you're like, give
Yeah,
me something
so
better.
that I talked my way out within 18 hours. So, they replaced my potassium, and later that night, I was able to start walking again or start feeling again and moving
Right.
again, and then, you know, I was up in the middle of the night walking the halls like, "I'm not letting this beat me. I don't care what it is, like, I'm gonna win." Um, and so the next day they rounded and, they were trying to keep me there for all weekend. And I was like, nah, just let me go home. It'll be okay. If something happens, I'll come back.
Okay,
you know?
any prompting from the doctors at this point about the weight, like 100 pounds that you
Yeah.
had gained?
So,
Did they say anything?
we had talked about it. And at this point, I was already I had to start taking blood pressure medicines. So I was taking 2 blood pressure medicines and 2 cholesterol medicines at 27 years old.
Wow.
Um, knowing what I do for a living, hey, you need to get your life together. This is not okay.
Yeah, can I just
Um,
can I just ask a question right there? So, a lot of times we get ourselves into jams and we don't have enough information. And from what I'm hearing you say, like you're in the medical field, right? Like you have plenty of information,
yeah,
yet this is still transpiring in your life.
Mm,
yeah,
that's a good point.
all the information and some
So that
extra.
makes you even feel worse about yourself, right? You even know to do
Yes,
better and you're not doing better,
for
right?
sure. Because part of my job is telling people, you need to do better. You need to exercise. You need to eat right. You need to do this. You need to make sure, you have this amount of water. You need to do all of these things, but I'm not doing it.
Man, it shows me even more, Casey, of how stress and anxiety take over our life. Like
Oh,
even knowing to do the right
Mm.
things, yet we continue to bump up against the ceiling because we're so stressed. There's so much anxiety in our life. We think there are other things more important than taking care of ourselves. And it's got to have caused some limiting beliefs with you as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anxiety, I think just in general, anxiety and, depression, and some of these other things, like they can literally be paralyzing to people. And can significantly affect people's quality of life, and their quantity of life. Uh, and it can play a significant role in your life
So
if
you
you're.
get back home and you and Brittany are sitting on the couch. All this has transpired. What happens?
Yeah, so after that, I kind of sit there for, a couple days and just think like, you should be dead right now. Like that, there's not a lot more powerful moments than you're still alive, but you shouldn't be kind of thing. Like this is your second chance. So, for a couple weeks, I just kind of sat in that moment of you have another chance. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I have to be here to, you know, provide for my wife and I want to be there when my kids graduate college and get married and have grandkids. And I want to grow old with Brittany. And this is not the way that this is going to happen. Like, if you keep up the same lifestyle, you may luckily have, 15 or 20 more years, but that's it. Like on a good day, because you shouldn't be here right now, kind of thing. And I kind of made the switch flipped, and I kind of made a conscious decision. It's time to make a change and be real about the change.
Do you think you would have made a conscious decision if you hadn't had this sense of an emergency, this potassium deficit? Do you think at some point, or do you think maybe not? Like the reason I'm asking the question, there's so many people today out there listening right now that are in a situation. They keep saying, "No, it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm okay." Right? As you
Yes.
go along, what do you think? You think you would have made a decision, or did it take something like this to get your attention?
I think maybe one day had me real comfortable. Maybe one day I'll do it. Maybe one day I'll have time to do it. Maybe one day I'll be strong enough to do it. Maybe one day I'll be able to, you know, do something different. Or maybe one day it'll be time. And, I think like most people, we get in really comfortable places and we don't feel the urgency to change. We don't feel that need to do something different. And, you know, you can never grow in comfortable places. You can only grow when you're stretched and you're pushed beyond that limit. So, looking back, I'm super grateful for that experience. I'm obviously super grateful that I lived through that experience to have it, and that I didn't have to wait on maybe one day.
Casey, you're a very determined person. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes and some of your accomplishments. What transpired that day? What flipped that day? Because I know for a fact, because I know you, I know when you decide like you're all in, you're going to do this thing. Why do you think people today can't just decide to do something and go do it? Like we're smart individuals. Everybody listening to this, they know we should exercise, take care of ourselves. What do you think happens or needs to happen for others to make a conscious decision of getting themselves in shape without having to go through the difficulties you did? What advice would you give that person?
Yeah, I think we are all paralyzed by complacency and being in that comfort zone. And, if I could speak back into my life, 10 years ago, where I was, and, get myself to look at that whole picture and see where I really was and what direction I really was going, and see the totality of it all. What all was on the line. I think I became so focused on the stressors and the anxiety that was, pushing me to my limit at that particular moment, that I didn't really look at the big picture of things, of,
Mm.
who I was, where I was going, what I needed to do. you kind of lose yourself. And one thing that I say to patients on a daily basis is, you can do this, you can do hard things. It's just about being consistent and moving one small step in the right direction each day.
That's good. One of the things that you said I really liked was that you weren't really reflecting on yourself. It was the responsibilities to the two children and to Brittany. Like I'm the provider. I've got so it's admirable that you were thinking even past yourself and your responsibilities. But you only did that during a time of quiet reflection, right? You
Yeah.
didn't make a conscious choice to today decide, I need to think through these things. You only
Hmm.
did it when you were flat on your back. You couldn't move, right?
For
And
sure.
so I think sometimes God gets our attentions and puts us in a position that we think through these deep things. So, would you suggest that people today have blocks of time periodically, maybe monthly, quarterly, daily, like to reflect and to
Oh,
think back? Because I know now you do that a lot.
yes, for sure. Like that's one of my, most important times of my day is to be able to just sit and think. Whether it's on our back porch, with the birds, or if it's in the quiet of the house after the kids go to school or before they wake up, I think it's really important to sit down and really evaluate who we are, and where we want to go. Um, and then start making changes to make that happen. And if we don't have that time to sit and think and just listen to the quiet because of the noise of life or the noise of anxiety or the noise of our responsibilities or the noise of what other people want from us, we're not able to live our true lives and be our true selves.
So you're sitting there now, you've got this inspiration. Now you're like, okay, dude, I'm going to figure this out. So, what did you decide to do at that point? I love this part of your story. So, what decision did you consciously make at 100 pounds overweight that you were going to do?
Yeah, so it's like you said earlier, I'm a everything or nothing person. Dive in the
Right.
deep end with both feet. Like once I commit, I commit. So, at first I decided I was going to go to the gym every morning. So that was going to be my wake up call, going to the gym. So, I went to the gym every morning and, for 45 minutes or an hour, and probably 2/3 of that time was catching my breath from not being able to do anything. So, I did like really low, I tried to do some cardio stuff, but it was super slow. Like,
Walking into the gym was your
yes,
cardio, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
just got to get in there.
yes. So, I did that for a little bit of time. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. This is something I'm going to do. And then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to start running. So I wanted to run a 5K. And, earlier, maybe 5 years before this, I had decided I was going to run a 5K, and, it was a miserable fail because I just gave up super quick. So I decided I was going to run. I walk outside. I literally cannot run 25 yards, and I almost fell into the ditch on the side of the road because I just couldn't do it. Like it was just impossible. I was so out of breath and just out of shape. But I had committed and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out a way. So, we just consistency, consistency, consistency. And, probably a month after that, I decided I wanted to do a triathlon. I didn't want to do a 5K. I wanted to do a triathlon. And, if I'm going to do a triathlon, I'm going to do a long triathlon. So I signed up for a half Ironman. Can't swim, don't have a bike, can walk, run maybe 100 yards by this point, but I signed up for a half Ironman. And so a half Ironman is a 70.3-mile triathlon. And, I was like, oh,
Tell the
this
listeners
is
what that is.
fun.
Like, what is an Ironman? Like, tell
So,
them what it consists of.
so a full Ironman is a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a 26.2-mile run, all within 17 hours.
Wally, I don't know about you, but I can't do that in my car and in my boat, much less doing it swimming. I just, man,
That's
just no
insane.
way. So you
Yeah.
decide you're going to do a half,
Yes.
right?
So I'm gonna decide I'm gonna do a half. So it's half of those distances: 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike, and then a 13.1 mile run. Granted, I can't swim. I don't have a bike. I might run 400 yards without having to stop and walk. But we committed, and I was going to find a way to make it happen. Um, and so we're working through this process: early morning training, consistency all day long. We're going to make those small changes. And it went from, me running from one light pole to the next to running miles and miles and miles, and from not being able to swim one length of the pool to swimming all of the distance, the miles, and biking from being exhausted after you ride 10 miles on the bike to powering out some pretty fast paces on 56 miles.
Did you come close to quitting at any time during this and saying, crap on it? I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm done.
I quit every day. I was done with it.
At the end of the day, man, I'm never
I was
doing
like,
that.
this is a terrible idea, but I'd already committed to it. And there was no, like, once I committed, I was just not gonna stop. It didn't matter what, forces came in the way. I wasn't giving up because, I just had this tenacity with inside me that I didn't care. I wanted to quit all the time. Like
You say
literally.
every day. Do you mean like every day? Like literally every day you worked out?
Literally every day we worked out. There
Wally, me
was
and you
some
try to
sort
do
of
it 3 days
workout.
a week, and we're struggling with 45 minutes doing it 3 days a week. This guy's going
That's
every
commitment.
day.
That's commitment
Yes.
right there.
Yeah, it is.
Hey,
Yeah.
Casey, I have a question for you. Kind of going back when you were talking about you set a goal for yourself, right? And then pretty quickly, like I don't know what time frame that was, like get to the gym, then you're gonna run, then you're gonna do 5K, and then go to marathon, and then you go to half Ironman. I think I'm trying to think back from myself, but I know I've talked to other guys that sometimes we set goals for ourselves, keep setting goals for ourselves, so it gives us an opportunity to quit.
Mm, that's
Right?
good.
Like if we set it out there too far, it's like, well, I set it out there and I just not going to do it. What was the reason that you kept elevating your goal?
Because by this point in my life, one of my core goals is to be better every day.
Hmm.
It didn't matter what I did yesterday, what I had planned to do tomorrow. I want to be a better version of me today than I was yesterday. However that plays out, sometimes we achieve that, sometimes we don't. But I want it to be better today than I was yesterday. And, some of those things, we would set goals and say, this is what I want to do. And it literally may be unrealistic, but I'm going to strive to achieve the unrealistic.
Hmm. I love that. Be better every day. So is that you said that was a goal? Is that more like a core value for yourself?
Oh, for
Like you
sure.
how you live life?
That definitely has become a core value for me over
That's
throughout my journey.
I love that.
So let's fast forward a little bit. I can't wait to share this with the audience. You've done 17 Ironmen now, right? And you
Yeah.
did that in about a 60-month period of time.
Yes.
And Casey, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it, and I'll get forgiveness later. But so I got a chance to read all of Casey's journaling for pre-race day, during race day, after race day, and I want to read you an excerpt. But I want to warn you before I read it. At 4:30 in the morning 2 weeks ago, this made me cry sitting on my couch, and it takes a lot to make me cry, to be honest with you, because I hear a lot and I see a lot. But this is an excerpt from one of your journals. You were in Hawaii and you said today was a day to know that new things were starting. The longer I stood in line, the moister my eyes began to get. I didn't really expect all of these emotions early in the day. The finish line, maybe, but before the start of the race, certainly not. There must have been 20 cameras in and around the body marking tent. I finally was able to get my numbers and was directed to a volunteer to have them applied. She asked me my name and what race I qualified for at Kona. I was able to tell her my name was Casey before my voice started cracking and I started to cry. She asked me if I was nervous and told me that everything was going to be okay. Through my tears, I told her that I was a legacy athlete. This was my 17th Ironman, and I wasn't nervous. I was just grateful for the opportunity to be in Kona, the race of the Ironman World Championship. Man, take me back to that day, to that moment, right?
I'm gonna
I
cry
mean,
again.
I know.
wow, that just like I was, golly, man, how grateful that you were. So, yeah, take us back there for a second.
That, being on the big island of Hawaii and being, being able to race the Ironman World Championship was a goal that I set and was another one of those, let's keep going. You know, I had raced an Ironman and then I decided I wanted to race the Ironman World Championship, which is a race that, less than 1% of athletes get to race in.
Wow.
And, that morning, the culmination of emotions of I went back to that morning in July when I was paralyzed and I should be dead and I shouldn't be here. But this not only gave me life back, but it gave me a new life. It gave me a new opportunity and an opportunity to be a better version of myself for me, for my family, and for other people. And being there in that tent whenever we were getting our numbers put on our arms was just so emotional and so real that something I had worked for 5 years was about to come to pass.
This is like the Super Bowl of Ironman, right? This is it. I mean, the world
Yes.
championship, it's, man, I want to say congratulations, first of all, uh, from being able to go from 100 pounds overweight to competing in 17 Ironman, qualifying for less than 1% of the nation in the Kona race in Hawaii. Kudos to you, man. That work, you're to be commended. So I want to
Thank
ask you a
you.
couple of questions around that. What do you feel like you learned about yourself during all this training?
You know, one of the biggest things, and this has become another core value for me, is that anything is possible. We set our own limitations in our
Mm,
mind. And if we are able to remove those limitations from our mind, anything is possible. Uh, One of the other things that I learned during this experience that I think helps, me today is another one of those core values. You can do hard things. It may not be comfortable. It's not going to be easy, but you can do hard things. And, you know, one of the other big things that as I kind of went through this journey was we come up with a process of, these are our goals, but we're not going to eat the elephant in one bite. We're going to do this in a process and set up small goals every, you know, so often that we want to achieve. It's not that, yes, I had a goal after I finished my first Ironman race of I want to, race the Ironman World Championship. But that just doesn't happen. You have to do certain things to make these big life altering goals happen. And you do those through small, consistent changes.
Yeah, I hear eat the elephant a bite at a time. Don't try to outpunch your coverage, right? Let's just get to the first telephone pole. Then
Yes.
let's run a 5K. Then run a half, and now we're up to a 17 Ironman. Do you think it was worth it? Was all the effort that has gone into this training, would you say it's been worth it?
It would be worth it to pay 100 times more.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the gratification, the satisfaction that you got at. What kind of impact did this have on your family, specifically Brittany and the two children?
You know, we had a lifestyle that my lifestyle of not exercising and eating terrible and not doing anything, that was our family's lifestyle. And since that time, we have slowly grown as a family to, my son is pushing me 4 days a week to get up and go to the gym and work out at 4:30 in the morning. Hey, dad, get up, let's go. And he's 14, and Brittany and my daughter go work out together at their CrossFit gym, and it really has become our lifestyle. We all eat healthy foods. We all, obviously not all the time, because I want a cookie
Oh,
every
sure.
once in a
Just don't talk
while.
about the cheating
But
right now. We'll keep that a secret, the
yeah,
little cheat days.
but
So,
those changes, really became the lifestyle of our family, and
yeah, I love that.
they see the importance of healthy lifestyle changes.
Casey, if you were giving advice to someone listening today and they're hugely motivated, obviously, after listening to this interview, what are some things that you would suggest to them to do differently than maybe you did initially? What would be kind of a redo if you had it to go over?
Yeah, so there's two big things that I talk to people about. One is, what lies are you believing? And that really centers around, what have you been told? What have you told yourself about yourself? And what's the truth to that? We are not our weight. We are not a number on a scale. And those things can change. And I think that when we start hearing the truth, or we have to start speaking the truth to ourselves, it's really easy to, you know, listen to yourself and listen to the negative things that you can say about yourself or say to yourself. But I've had to learn that I'm not going to listen to myself. I'm going to talk to myself, and I'm going to speak the truth over me
Oh,
instead of listen to the negative thoughts that I have in my head.
wow, that is so powerful.
And, the other thing that I tell everybody is, consistency is what changes average into excellence. And if you make small, consistent changes, so often I hear people who want to lose weight and they decide, I'm going to go throw everything out of my refrigerator, my pantry, and I'm starting over. And they go, spend $400 at the supermarket and try to make these radical changes. That's not what works. Small, consistent changes are what works. It took me 3 times of throwing away everything in my pantry before I realized this isn't how you do this. You go from drinking, you know, 10 or 12 Cokes a day to just allowing yourself to drink, 4 or 6 Cokes a day, and do that for 4 or 6 weeks, and then build on that and go from drinking 6 Cokes a day to drinking 1 Coke a day, and build on that again 6 weeks later, and make those small changes over time that you're able to consistently implement. That's where you get where you want to be.
Casey, do you think it's important to have accountability in your life? People walking this journey with you?
Absolutely. The more that you tell people you're going to do something and you have someone to hold you accountable, if you have, people around you, people at work, people in your church, people in the the gym, people, wherever, when you tell somebody you're going to do it, they're going to ask you, did you really do it?
That's
Or did
good.
you not
Yeah.
really do it?
Yeah.
And, you get a lot more accomplished when you set goals for yourself and tell other people what those goals are. Because it's really easy to set a goal for yourself and be like, well, maybe not. I might not do that.
Yeah.
I'll just, whisper it.
Nobody's asking.
Yeah, no one's asking. But when you tell other people, you got to get up
Yeah.
at 4 o'clock in the morning and make something happen.
At the beginning of the interview, you said no one was asking you, no one was giving you suggestions, no one was asking you questions, no one was holding you accountable, and it almost cost you your life. And
Literally.
so now I know you have huge accountability around you on a weekly basis. It's pretty exciting because today professionally you get to deal with obesity and you're changing lives around the world. Tell the audience a little bit more about what you get to do each and every day.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, we started, I started a clinic. So I have a telemedicine clinic that is in about 30 states. And I work with patients who are clinically overweight or obese, and patients who have hormonal imbalances or, just want to be a better version of themselves. And hearing some of the stories from some of our programs and seeing the transformation that happens in patients' lives is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done professionally.
Yeah, man. Again, kudos to you because you've taken something that was very negatively impacting your life and you've used that to transform the lives of hundreds of people around the world today. And it's pretty exciting. I know you've got a book coming out mid 2023, sharing your journey, and we'll be looking for that. So we're excited. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with the world. As we finish today, I want us to lay the groundwork just for a little bit for other people, like having a healthier lifestyle. If you were to summarize like three basic steps that the audience could listen to today, what would it be? Like do this, then do this, and then do this. Like what are those three things that we could take and make application to our life today?
One of the easiest things to do is to move more. It patients always ask, what do I need to do? What kind of workouts do I need to do? We really have to, look at you individually and see what are you doing now. If you're not moving at all, sometimes it can be, a 10-minute walk down the street. Uh, if you are moving, if you are exercising, if you are doing things, level up. Push yourself a little bit harder, grow a little bit more. Uh, One of the biggest things that I see routinely is patients don't drink enough water. And that sounds extremely basic, but when you're filling yourself with coffee, espresso, sodas, all of this stuff, Red Bulls, energy drinks throughout the day, you're not able to hydrate yourself appropriately and you're just drinking empty calories. And those empty calories that are not providing nutritional benefit to you are one of the most harmful things that patients can do. And, when it comes to dietary choices, if you can take one serving, eat one more serving of vegetables a day, you're going to make some pretty significant changes.
Well, these are some very fundamental, basic premise by which we should live, and we forget those things. And sometimes we try to do this extravagant thing, and it's really back to the basics. Casey, any rule of thumb for the amount of water? We hear all kinds of, um, data that is out there. What would you suggest? Is there an average that we should
Yeah,
drink for water?
if you can get 64 ounces of water in a day,
Okay,
that's you're getting
more
enough.
than the average.
That's
Yeah,
is way more than the average person.
yeah.
That's a big
Um,
jug. I've seen them. 64-ounce jugs, man. I've seen them.
yeah, that's one of those things you see everyone with their like stripes on their big jug of water for them to drink all day. So
Wow, wow,
yeah,
that's good. Casey,
Hey, Big A,
yeah, Wally.
Big A, before we, I know we're gonna finish up here soon. I just have a question about Casey, your journey of going from having the information, making poor choices, changing your mindset, overcoming limiting beliefs, stop telling the lies you're telling, all the things you've explained to us today, right? At some point along the way, professionally, you made a change as well, right? Like from what you were doing to what you're doing now, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, like other guys listening out there that have a passion for something they're doing, or they're good at something or whatever. Like, can you just in a bite size maybe explain a little bit like that process for you? You went from this one path in life to the path that you're on now, like from a business perspective.
Yeah. So we went from, I worked at a traditional clinic, and, my passion became helping people walk the journey that I walked, because I feel very strongly that that doesn't happen traditionally. And I wanted to be able to impact people's lives in a positive way, and to be able to challenge people in a way that I wasn't challenged. And from a business perspective, we have found a way to make that work and be very rewarding and provide a significant amount of value to our patients and help them grow positively from that.
Hmm.
Great insight. Casey, I know you're very familiar with the terminology full cup. Uh, do you have a full cup? Do you have something that you could offer the audience today? Man, you've already shared so much, but I'd like to end with something specific that would be beneficial to the audience.
You know, success is the sum of small efforts repeated daily. Let that be your success. Your small efforts that don't seem like they're really making that big of a change in your game, when they're repeated daily and consistently, that makes the change, and that
Wow.
brings you to success.
Casey, for those that want to learn more about you, what is the best way to contact you, reach out, and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook and Instagram are Casey Elkins. My Twitter is Casey Elkins DNP. And you can find out about our clinic at restorationhealthwellness.com.
Casey, it's been a pleasure, buddy. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for all the wisdom and knowledge that you shared with us today. And we're just so grateful and blessed that you've been on View from the Top. So thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm super happy to be here.
Well, I have to be totally transparent with you. There's not many interviews that I do that takes me to tears. This one did, obviously. And you saw the moment where we reflected back on Casey's biggest accomplishment, being able to participate in the champions of the Ironman in Kona. And I want to tell you what an inspiration that was to me personally, and him talking about incremental bites in taking our life to the next level. He's not a guy that comes in and says that you got to just eliminate all these things. He took us on a very deliberate journey, helping us understand what we've got to do incrementally in order to have huge success. Man, I hope you go back and listen to this episode again and take great notes, because you too can apply everything that he said in today's interview to helping you accomplish your own View from the Top.
The easiest way to connect with us just might be through our new weekly email called The Climb. You're going to love this thing. It's pretty cool. It's once a week, easy to digest, bite-sized topics that every small business owner, entrepreneur, husband, and father can use to help them live a life of success and significance as they climb to their own view from the top. You can check it out at viewfromthetop.com/climb. That's CLIMB, to get your free access and not miss out on the very next issue. As always, you can email us at pod, that's POD, at viewfromthetop.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.